And our guest today is Louisa Printz, Community Prevention and Education Coordinator with Safe Haven of Greater Waterbury. She's also an Associate Marriage and Family Therapist, and we're so happy to have her here with us today. So just to get right into it, so what are some of the key components to a healthy relationship?
So some of the key components to a healthy relationship, one of the first ones is trust. To have trust within the other person, but also to have trust within yourself. Because a lot of individuals who get into relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's partners, they sometimes will say they trust the other person and then use the excuse, well, I trust you, but I don't trust the other one or a friend of yours or something. So is that truly trust in that other person? And also trust within self. A lot of kids, a lot of adults even, second guess themselves. Is this okay? Is it not okay? They don't listen to their gut. So listening to their gut's really important because that comes with trusting within self. Because without trust, you really don't have a solid foundation for a relationship. Another one is open communication. Being able to talk to someone freely without any fear or, sometimes there's hesitation, sometimes there's nervousness, and that's okay. But being able to have that conversation freely with someone, like saying, Haley, what you said the other day, really didn't feel comfortable with, and that kind of bothers me. And being able to not worry about any ramifications that are going to come back at you, or if they're going to yell or scream at you or react at you, or even shut down on you. And sometimes flipping it. So a healthy open communication is really being able to speak freely, not hatefully, not mean, not cruel, and speaking from the I statements. I feel this way, or I am going through this, or when you said that, I felt this, which is difficult for a lot of people because as soon as you say the word feeling or felt, they kind of shut down and they're like, I don't do that. Another one is listening, actually being present in the moment with that person and listening. Not on your phone, not on your iWatch, not watching something else, not trying to work at the same time, actually being present in that moment and being able to process what that person has said. Because many times people will say, my partner says, I don't listen. I listen. I can tell them everything they said over and over and over again. You can repeat it and regurgitate it, but did you really listen to what was going on? Mm-hmm. And then they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, did you process it? Oh, this is what they meant. Oh, this is what's going on. So actually listening. Feeling safe and respected. Feeling safe is a huge one because some people will say to me that, oh, no, we're good. When they yell at me, I get worried. Or when they yell at me, I get scared. Or, I can't tell them that because if I tell them that, they may have a reaction towards me. So when that fear is there, that's not a healthy relationship. So feeling safe to be able to be yourself and not have to hide yourself. Taking responsibility is a huge one. Everybody messes up. Everyone does. It's owning our mess ups. It's owning what we did and not switching it and blaming someone else. There was one time, one kid said, well, I hit them. And I was like, okay, tell me why. Well, they said something I didn't like. Okay, so you hit them, so they didn't like what you said. So, yeah, well, if they didn't say it, I wouldn't have hit them. Mm-hmm. But wait a minute here. Mm-hmm. Who's taking responsibility for this? You or them?
Well, and your because, someone can make you feel that way, but you're obviously in control of your reaction to things. Yeah.
Yes. Conflict, arguments, they're actually healthy. They can be healthy and unhealthy. They're actually healthy. Being able to discuss something or resolve something, and also being able to agree to disagree. Because Haley, I don't know about you. I don't agree with everybody and everything they said.
No. Especially today, there's a lot of, it feels like different opinions on a lot of different topics. And yeah, and I think that's, I know we're going to get into it a little bit later too, but such a big part of communication, and that, like you said, feeling safe to be able to have those conversations and disagree or agree on things.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially, so conflict has always been there, but especially lately for the past few years, there's such a great divide.
Yeah.
It's very black and white. Relationships are full of gray. Mm-hmm. It's not black and white. It's not right and wrong. There's a lot of grace in there. Mm-hmm. And being able to look at that gray area and discuss what is going on. And then when we discuss what's going on and trying to resolve that conflict, sometimes some conflicts cannot be resolved. And sometimes that's okay. Because again, we're going to agree to disagree. And will that still grow the relationship? Will I still feel comfortable talking to you about things? Will I still feel safe with you talking about things? Or will I be like, oh, can't talk about that topic, because if I talk about that topic, you know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I get shocked when I say this part, independence and equality. Independence, guess what? In a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a couple, I get to have my time. I get to have my time. I get to have my friends. I get to do things that I like to do. And being a self-identifying female, cis female, you know what? If I have male friends, that's okay, just as long as they respect my boundaries. Mm-hmm. You know, having male friends, having female friends, being able to hang out with them without having to explain myself so much. And guess what? My partner, they can have their friends, and they can have female friends or male friends, and, you know, get to do what they do, because our independence makes us who we are. And then when we come together as a friendship or a couple, then we are enriched because we bring our individuality into that. Mm-hmm. And equality, really just being on equal footing. You know, I'm as important as you are. You are as important as I am. I'm not going to dominate you. You're not going to dominate me. There are certain roles that you are more stronger in and you have more strength in and more confidence in. Great. I have more strengths also than you do. And so this way we compromise on those two. And so the whole thing that boils down to a healthy relationship is that you get to be you, all of you. Not mean or hateful, but you, all of you. Your beautiful, wonderful, amazing, unique self. And your partner or your friend gets to be them. They get to be all of them. And then when you come together, you get to be an us, but also not losing your individuality.
Yeah, no, I think that's all so important. And I know just even talking with friends or family members, people who, you know, I think are in healthy relationships, talk about all those things and valuing that, oh, that, you know, they have their own time with their friends, and, you know, their partner goes and golfs or does something different. And, you know, and for some people, that's like the first time they've ever had that, you know, so I think you really nicely just explained all the key components to a healthy relationship. And then on the flip side too. So if those things aren't happening, could be that maybe you have those gut feelings or some red flags that maybe it isn't the healthiest relationship at the moment, or maybe there's some things to improve upon if, you know, both partners are willing.
Correct. And also one other thing was consent and boundaries.
Yeah.
You consent to things. You know, it's I'm a person, honestly, who I'm Portuguese European. So in my family and my culture, I had to hug and kiss every uncle. And I wasn't asked. It was just expected of me. And so as an adult, I really had to look at myself and say, did I really like that? Didn't I like that? Mm-hmm. So again, there's certain people in the community I see, or certain family members whom I love to hug. I do love that connection. But then there's others, I'm like, something in my gut says, I don't want to hug you already. I'm just tired and I don't feel like a hug. Mm-hmm. Doesn't always have to be an issue. It could just be simply like, you know what? I just don't feel like being touched today. And I'm good with that. But always asking someone before you touch them, before you hug them, before you go to kiss them, or any other level of intimacy you're going to have, but asking for consent, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. And the only thing that constitutes as yes is an enthusiastic 100% yes. Mm-hmm. because everything else is a no. Not in the mood, not right now. I don't feel like it. Maybe. Okay, I'll give you a hug. Whatever. They're a friend. I don't want to hurt their feelings. But then are you honoring yourself? And then setting boundaries for yourself also. These are my rules for myself. Please respect these rules. Because again, there's some people who have been through some things, or just some people who don't like it, that don't like to be touched, don't like, for people to approach them from behind or anything. So those boundaries are really important.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me think, even like when you were talking about in the gray area too, I think in relationships, people, especially maybe if you're together a long time, get so stuck on this is who my partner is. And if they sway even a little bit outside of that, it's like, who are, I don't even know you anymore. Who are you? So like giving that person the room to grow, or to set, maybe one day it's yes, maybe one day it's no. Like it isn't as black and white as you were saying. Like there's a lot of
gray area. And also, it's like, it's people get comfortable. I love how you said that. People get comfortable in their relationships. Mm-hmm. Oh, we always hug. Oh, we always do this. I can always hold their hand. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe today she doesn't want to, or he doesn't want to, or they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And is that okay? Because it doesn't define the whole relationship.
Yeah.
Just defines that one moment.
Yeah, no, that's great. I know. I feel like I could relationships are, especially because of that gray area, I feel like there's so many topics and so many things we could even cover within this. But another one that kind of comes up a lot, and you just hear it even in the workplace or in friendships, romantic relationships or partnerships, is communication. Just really how someone says something, how it's perceived. So if you could talk a little bit about how communication impacts a relationship, and any tips or tools for better communication too. I know, loaded question.
That is a loaded question because it depends on who you're speaking with. Communication can be verbal or it can be physical. There's many. So it's funny because so I do a lot of community education in schools. My population, because my partner at work, she handles the elementary school. I handle middle and high school and college students. So like sometimes I will ask the boys, do you hit females? And they're like, no, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, great, it's wonderful. I'm like, females, do you hit boys? They're like, yes. And I'm like, why do you hit boys? We're telling them, and this is how they communicate, they tell me, we're telling them that you're stupid or you said something stupid. And I'm like, so wait a minute. So it's okay for you to smack a boy to tell him that he's stupid or what he said was stupid, but he can't hit you. And so we start talking about communication. And they're like, but that is me communicating. And I'm like, but it is, you're right. But is it healthy? Communicating is really important. We actually learn all these behaviors, by the way, that we're talking about. We learn. We learn from our families. We learn from society, social media. We learn from partners. We learn this. And we start learning this from a very early age. A lot of kids, depending on what culture they grow up in and what community they grow up in, some kids are taught to not speak unless they're spoken to. Or somebody actually told me this morning, they were raised with the fact of, if you don't have something nice, don't say it at all. And so I come back to that one as, okay, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. I ask the question of, does it really need to be said? So communication really is in different ways. Again, it's verbal and it is physical. The verbal, when we communicate with each other, we have to check within ourselves. What's going on within ourselves? Are we angry at the moment? Are we being triggered? Are we frustrated? Are we irritated? Are we happy? Are we joyous? Are we comfortable? Are we just the quiet person? And then to be able to speak freely to someone and not watch our words as per we're afraid of what someone else is going to say, but more like, how do we say it in a way that they're going to listen? And so let's say you have a couple and one says, you always do that. You're always commenting on how I can't cook well. And then the partner goes, no, I don't. You just can't cook well. I don't know what you're trying to say to me. Sometimes you burn things. And so no one's listening to each other. They're waiting to react. a better way of saying that is I try really hard to make dinner. And, I think I do an okay job. And it really hurts when you tell me that the food is horrible or the food is burnt or you don't like the food or you wish I made something else. Because I feel like I'm not being honored for that. And I really wish you would tell me, by the way, can I have something else tonight instead of this? Or when I ask you what you want to eat, you're like, I don't know, whatever you want to make. And then you get mad at me. So I would appreciate it if you actually would just tell me and speak up maybe a little bit more.
You can even just tell when you say that and come from a place of emotion, like the whole tone, the body language, versus like when you're on the defense, it just is so much, just even seeing the two back to back, you can totally tell the difference and how that would be perceived differently, I think.
It is the tone. And It's also because when some individuals are in a relationship, whatever relationship that is, as soon as the person opens their mouth and they start saying you or well you, the other person already is on the defense and the other person already shut down. And so that's not healthy communication. That's actually telling someone or blaming someone, when what we want to do is think about it as, how am I going to listen to this? How are they going to listen to this? How am I going to communicate what is going on with me and have them actually listen to that? I am very much where I will speak about emotions to others. I will talk about how they are feeling. This is me communicating. Mm-hmm. I will talk about so many things that they are going through. I will have empathy. I will have compassion for them. I will listen to them. I will be in the moment. But it's funny because of the way I was raised, when it comes to me, I do the I statement tremendously. I don't say I feel though that much. I usually say, there's a part of me that just felt really disrespected. I didn't feel seen. And I know I just said the word feel, but it's in a different content. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm invisible at times. And it seems like I'm not even here. Mm-hmm. And that could be into reaction of when I asked to do something, or I asked to hang out, or I asked to let's go here or there, or what would you like to do? I kind of get disregarded. Because you had mentioned in the beginning family. Mm-hmm. Family is a wonderful dynamic, especially being the youngest child of 5. And so there are times when, my whole family is together, and some of them are very dominant. Some of them are very vocal. Mm-hmm. Some of them are just like downright saying a lot of inappropriate things. And so the way they communicate, again, they're loud. Some of them say inappropriate things and so forth. And I find the way I communicate best with them is sometimes, and it doesn't mean I'm not speaking my mind. Sometimes I will stay quiet. Sometimes I will just give them a look of like, and I know people can't see me, but I'll give them a look of like, really? There are times where I just put up my hand like a, okay, or whatever, and then I'll walk away. Those are nonverbal communications. Those are nonverbal. I'm not going to stay here and listen to this. I don't like what you said. I thought what you said was inappropriate. I'm not going to give you the time of day to say that to me. So communication can be in multiple different ways. If we don't communicate, if we don't talk about what's going on with us, and I never said it was easy. Mm-hmm. If we don't talk about what's going on, it's not, is it, Haley?
No. But I think, or even when you were kind of doing that scenario and kind of the first being more reactive and then the second even being like more vulnerable and coming from a place of emotion, I think being the one to be vulnerable first kind of breaks down those walls a little bit too, where maybe then allows the other person the opportunity to feel safe enough to open up about that also. So just being the first, I think that's when, and like you said, there's so many variables and or people maybe even being stubborn or thinking they're right, but it's just kind of always takes, maybe one person to try to change things, and, it can change from there too. To start it.
Very much so. Yeah. And so this is a perfect example of like listening and communicating. There's many times where people just wait to respond. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the communication. I was listening to you. I was processing what you said. I actually, in my mind, was like, yeah, I see those times in my life. And then I paused for a moment and I said, okay, what can I say to actually communicate what's going on with me right now, And it is very true where it takes a lot of courage to be the vulnerable one. And so having safety in that, with communication, there has to be safety in that. And if you are in a safe space, then being able to be vulnerable, the first one to open up and say, that makes me sad. I get worried. I get nervous. I have a friend who such and such and such, that really hurt me what you just said. And if you are in a safe space, that communication will come across as, oh, I did hurt you. I didn't mean to. I'm going to take responsibility for it. And let's have that conversation. It's when I'm in schools with kids, it's funny because with adults, I'm not as vulnerable as I am with kids. Mm. Middle school and high school kids, they ask me a question, I will answer 90% of their questions about me. And we have that communication, we have that conversation, and I will be vulnerable around that because I feel safe around that. Mm. With some adults, I got to be careful on who I say what to.
Well, yeah. Well, and being like, I think like you said, it seems like a little bit of a self-awareness too, or just that gut of like, okay, I can, have trusting, your boundaries of, okay, this is someone I feel safe to open up with at this time. I may not, just assessing the situation and then knowing kind of how best to communicate from there. I just have just your take on this. I'm sure you've heard, but I hear a lot often of people of, oh, they should just know what I want, or they should just know I need this. I hear that a lot in relationships, and just kind of your advice on that or your take on that. Mm-hmm.
We are not mind readers at all. We are not mind readers. No. We would like to talk about, if you want me to pick up something at the grocery store, then say it. So my partner and I, it was so funny because, he was saying something about, I was going to the grocery store. And so I said, okay, he goes, oh, just, you know what I want. Mm. And I looked at him, I'm like, what? He goes, you know what I want. And I'm like, actually, no, I don't. He goes, yes, you do. And I'm like, no, I don't. Because last week when I was going to the store, you said you did not want this and this, but I bought the past couple of weeks that and that. And he's like, oh yeah. We are not mind readers. Even with a look, I hear this a lot, Haley, is like, they looked at me a certain way. Mm-hmm. Or, they gave me that look and I knew. Mm-hmm. Or I just looked at them and they should have known what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. We're not mind readers. We need to say what we feel because, let's be honest, a lot of individuals have gone through some stuff already. Some people don't even know their facial reactions. I actually am so self-aware of myself that I actually can control my facial reactions. There are times where I want to roll my eyes at somebody or be like, what? Mm-hmm. But I'm like, can't do that. Mm-hmm. So sometimes adults don't even know, or kids don't even know the look they give. How many parents have you heard say to kids, don't look at me that way. Mm-hmm. Why are you looking at me that way? Why are you disrespecting me? And a lot of people will say, what do you mean? And what I say to individuals is, would you like a mirror? Because I just saw you look at me a certain way, and I want to make sure what your face is saying is actually what you are saying. Mm-hmm. We're not mind readers. Please don't ask somebody to be a mind reader. Please speak up and tell them from the I statement what you want, what you don't want, what you don't like. Body language is included in that. Mm-hmm. Because if you give somebody a hug and they're stiff and they're just like, their body's saying, guess what? If their body's stiff and tight, that means don't touch them. But you can't be mind readers. Mm-hmm. So yes, and that's a hard thing, especially when you've been together for so long. Mm-hmm. Well, they know every Friday night we go out. Mm-hmm. No, you don't.
And I think that's that. It's like that, allowing that space for things to be different. And I know, our body, like we like things to be in patterns or predictability, but I think just allowing that space for change. But it's just funny because I still hear that all the time. And I think the same exact thing. I'm like, but how would they know? You do have to communicate. And, we're always inside of our own heads a lot of the time too. So it's,
especially when I do counseling, because I do advocacy at Safe Haven, mm-hmm. but then I'm also a therapist at night. And I hear that a lot. Well, they should know. Mm-hmm. What should they know? Well, they should know. Well, have you talk to them about it? And then figure out, if you talk to them about it numerous times, why isn't it sinking in? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I know, to me, or with communication too, it kind of, especially like you said, if it's not being receptive or if kind of the same conversation keeps happening, it's like almost speaking two different languages. It's like if you're not listening, then the message isn't getting through the right way or getting through effectively.
Right. And a lot of men and boys have told me the way they were raised is they have to fix everything. They have to be the fixers. Mm-hmm. And so when they say they hear a female, and I laugh. I'm a fixer too, so I don't know what happened to me. But when they say they hear a female speak, they're instantly in their head thinking about, what are they going to do? How are they going to fix it? How are they going to fix it? How do I fix it? So learning that, and so I asked the question, I'm like, did you not listen to what they said? They're like, yeah, I heard them. I'm like, but you didn't listen. Mm-hmm. And I said, so you think they said this, but they actually said this. And so working with the expectations of what we want from our partner. Mm-hmm. Because again, some females tell me that when they talk to their partners, they're like, but I want them to fix it. And I'm like, did you ask them? They're like, no, they should automatically know. I'm like, did you ask them? Mm-hmm. Can you please help me with this? I need assistance with this. Or ready? Can you give me some guidance? Mm-hmm. Instead of assuming already, thinking that, we can read each other's minds.
Yeah, I think that's big in friendships a lot too, or I hear from people just that, or I'm looking for advice. I'm looking just, to vent, or can you take on me venting right now, even respecting their boundaries of hearing what's,
yes.
Going on in your life too. So yeah, I think in all relationships, it becomes that the clear communication is big for me, because then exactly kind of where the two of you stand. And
yeah. And being whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. Mm-hmm. Introverts, we kind of stay more quiet, we do more body gestures and so forth. And that sometimes is not healthy, because then the other person doesn't know what we're thinking or saying. And I smile a lot. I smile all the time. And I always say that everybody wears a mask. And so if we're smiling all the time, even with our friends, if our friends vent to us or complain to us or talk about something to us, and we're sitting there and in our head, we're like, oh my God, I don't want to hear this right now. I really don't want to hear this right now because I'm going through my own stuff. But we smile and we nod and we're like, okay, are we really present in that moment anymore? Or are we just thinking just go away, just go away, just go away?
Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure leads to some level of resentment if you're not speaking, your truth, or expressing your needs or honoring yourself. Mm-hmm.
And then when we put technology with that, with all of this, when we put technology with all of it, it's like, how many people do we know in friendships and stuff? And I ask a lot of kids and adults, so how many of you leave those messages unread because you're just can't deal with that right now. Can't deal with that right now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yes, miss, because they'll tell me this, or they'll want to do this, or they're going to start, I just can't deal with it right now. Mm-hmm. So I said, so you're communicating by leaving it unread, is telling them, I can't handle it right now. Or it could be that you're busy.
Mm-hmm.
But then your other friend gets resentful and angry because you left them on red.
Mm-hmm.
So would a better thing be, if you can, just to have, just an automatic thing saying, hey, talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.
And at least that's acknowledging them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this could probably be a whole other podcast too, so I won't spend too much time on it, but just interesting too, as we're talking about communication, and I know there's like the 5 love languages and how people perceive and give love, and it was just a story I heard recently that was interesting. It was just like a couple who had been married, I think it was like over 30 years, and they were in couples therapy, and she valued love of affirmations, of hearing. She wanted him to say I love you, and the way he was giving love was like starting her car every morning, or like an act of service, and they had never really had that conversation. So she's sitting there thinking he hasn't loved her for all this time, and he's like, but I love you more than anyone, like this is how I show you. So I think just even as love plays a component in communication too, just knowing how the other one perceives love or wants to hear, whether it's, words or physical touch or the acts of service or gifts or whatever is kind of what works for you, and how, I guess your like love tank gets full.
And that is so important because some people need a touch. Some people need the touch. Some people need the affirmations. Mm-hmm. I mean, I try to teach individuals, everybody has their own language. Everybody does. Again, it's how you're raised. It's what you believe in. It's your culture. It's all that in play. And so some people find their worthiness in, hearing it all the time. And so we talking about like, okay, what do you need to feel loved? What do you need to realize that person loves you? And if that person does everything they can to show you, because you actually spoke up mm-hmm. and you said, this is what I need to feel loved, and you still don't feel loved, but they are doing what you want, then look within yourself. Because love has to do with ourselves too. Mm-hmm. Because then look at yourself and see what you're lacking and why you're lacking that. Because it could be something that has happened to you or just something that you're not connecting with. Mm. Because to me, my love language is like, just, send me a text once in a while, just with a smiley face. Just a smiley face. Just means you're thinking of me, Or again, start my car in the morning. Yeah. or cook for me where I don't have to, or just sit with me for a moment and actually like, when you ask me how my day was, like, don't go, how's your day? Okay, this was mine. Mm-hmm. And that's mine. And to other people, they want the jewelry and they want the flowers or they want the gifts or they want this accolades. And I'm like, I don't need that.
And I think because you touched upon a couple different ones, and as we've been talking about, everything's fluid too, where it could change tomorrow. Right now, maybe I need a hug. Maybe tomorrow I want to be told this. And so I think, what we've been saying is just really expressing your needs. And then if it's still not, like you said, if it's still not, feeling like your needs are being met, then maybe there's something else going on.
Right. Mm-hmm. Great analogy is in a relationship. Whatever relationship it is, friendships, intimate, whichever, they all, I say, they're a daily job. And I don't mean a job meaning that you can't stand going there anymore. Mm-hmm. It takes daily work. It takes a daily thing every day. Because when we get comfortable in our relationships, we kind of start taking them for granted mm-hmm. and start neglecting. And how do we keep a plant alive? How do you keep flowers alive? Mm-hmm. You have to trim them. You have to water them. You have to, give them food. You have to take care of them in order for them to thrive. Because when you just leave them and go, oh, I'll water them next week. And then next week comes the week after and the week after, and then that plant's going to die. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Well, I know we covered a lot so far. if someone's listening to this and, they're interested and they want more information, or they want more just tips on communication, or even just to look for what, red flags in relationships or more components to a healthy relationship, what are some resources out there that are available?
So there is a great resource, and it's actually an app you can download, or you can go on the website. It's actually TD 411. It's, T for Thomas, D for David, teen dating 411. That was actually created with the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Teens in Connecticut. It was actually created by a lot of teens in Connecticut. They went and they discussed, okay, what's a healthy relationship? What is this? What is that? So if you download the app, it's a really great app. It literally will list, it has categories. It will list off what's healthy in a relationship, what's unhealthy in a relationship, what are the red flags. And what I love is it has where's the resources. Because you can put a town on there, and if you put a town on there, it will tell you where the local, and I don't want anybody scared when I say this, it will tell you where the local domestic violence and sexual assault agency is. But here's the best part about it is it will link you to Safe Connect. Oh, Safe Connect is our statewide hotline. And the thing about Safe Connect is you can call for advice. You can call to ask, hey, my friend did this. Is it healthy? Hey, my partner did this. How do I work this out? I'm afraid to talk to my partner sometimes. My friend just had this happen to them. We get a lot of, from teens. I have a friend whose boyfriend or girlfriend is telling them what they can and can't wear and where they can and can't go. How can I talk to that friend without saying, listen, you just need to leave them? Yeah. So Safe Connect is great because they will talk to you about anything. And the great part about it is you can be anonymous. And so this way you can have more comfort in that. And they actually have a hotline number.
Oh, that's great.
Which is 888-774-2900. And if you go to ctsafeconnect.com, on their website, you can actually live chat with someone. You can text them, you can email them, or you can call them.
Oh, a lot of avenues to reach out. I love that. We will definitely promote that. I will put that on the Casa website, and then I'll also share that on our Instagram and Facebook page too. That's
and then again, if they want to call Safe Haven directly, because we take care of the 13 surrounding towns, including Wolcott, it's 203-575-0388. And they can get, again, information. They can just ask their questions. And if need be, they can get free counseling, which is great. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different avenues that they can go down.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's good to know that. It's always good to know what resources are available. And like you said, that they have so many different, I know some people prefer the texting versus phone call. So that's great. And then kind of lastly, we just like to end these interviews with just kind of a fun conversation card. And the one I picked, which is very timely to what we're talking about, or on point with what we're talking about, is the how do you know when you can trust another person?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That one is challenging. Mm-hmm. Listening to your gut.
Yeah.
When someone says something to you and inside your gut, it's just going off. It feels tight. It feels tense. It feels like you want to vomit or something. Right there, that's a huge red flag that you don't trust that other person, that something is going on, that you don't believe what they said for whatever reason it is. And then, sometimes we have to look at whether we trust ourselves and our own instincts. I speak to a lot of individuals who've had friends who betrayed them, friends who had, been part of their life. Next thing you know, they're dropping them or they talk about them. I've talked to many who were in a couple and they've been betrayed. So when they get into the next friendship or relationship, they take that mistrust into that other relationship. And I ask people to please work on that trust first. Please work on that, building that trust again, because if all of a sudden we take that baggage into the next one, we're going to question everything that other person says. And also, do we trust in ourselves? Do we trust in ourselves to make the appropriate decisions and choices? So listening to your gut really helps with the trust factor. And again, there's some people who just trust easily. And like somebody had told me yesterday, I'm just gullible. I was like, is it gullible, or are you just trusting because you believe in the good in everybody? So really the way you find out if you can trust someone or not is what your gut is saying, what your inside is saying. And that's really it. Because when I don't trust somebody, my gut goes off and I become more guarded and I listen more than I speak. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so when we do that, then we shut off. And is that healthy for us? Mm-hmm. And another way to build trust is tiptoe into the relationship. Don't jump in full force, tiptoe into it. I don't mean test the waters either, but I mean just take your time, grow that relationship, whichever relationship it is. And that's how you also build trust, because trust is not given that same day, but build on it.
Yeah, no, that was, everything you said resonates with me too. Like you said, I think you can know, there's a knowing within your body, within your gut, and versus the opposite, if it's kind of more like maybe obsessive thoughts or ruminating, like you can kind of, especially maybe, with meditation, or like you said, just sitting with yourself and learning, growing the trust within yourself. I think it becomes a little easier, or starts to become easier to differentiate between those two. Like you said, what's just kind of past trauma or what's really happening kind of in the moment, or a past situation and what's happening now. So,
right. And with friendships and partnerships, too many other people get into our relationships also. Mm-hmm. They get into our ear, you can't trust them, and they start spreading rumors and things. Mm-hmm. And again, we have to check within ourselves. Do we know this person for how we know them? Have they been truthful with us? Mm-hmm. Did they do us any wrong or anything else? And really listening, again, to what's inside of us. Because a lot of us, most of us have been brought up to ignore that gut. And if you get anything out of today, it's listen to your gut, because your gut is never wrong. Your head will tell you, it will try to rationalize things. You know what? They're going through a hard time. It's just they're having a bad mood, whatever they're going to rationalize it as. Your heart will say you care about them, you love them, they're so wonderful and terrific. Guess what? Throw those two out the window and listen to your gut, because your gut's always, always right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Louisa. This has been such great information, and just thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and experience and situations with us. And so this video will be probably uploaded to our Casa webpage within the month or early next month. And like I said, I'll share those resources as well. So thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.